So, and my siblings and I, we've tried to kind of convince him, exercising is good for you. I think it's really important for you to go to the gym. Oh no, I don't need to go to the gym. Until finally my mom convinced him to go to the gym with her. And it's a gym mostly for seniors. So he goes, he spends the day with my mom at the gym, and he comes home, and my mom says to him, all right, well, what did you think? Are you going to come with me now from now on? He's like, no, I'm absolutely not going to that gym ever again. And she says, why not? And he says, because it's filled with old people. And my mom was telling me this story, and she said, well, what are you? Are you not a senior? Are you not an old person? It's so, and this is what makes it a little bit difficult when we talk to our families and our parents as they age, is sometimes they don't understand like their limitations or how elderly they've become, and it makes it difficult for us, their children, to bring about the topic or to talk to them about it, because they still feel like you are their children, and they have this need to show that they're powerful and they can take care of you and all of these things. So it makes it difficult for us when we notice that our parents are aging and that they need that kind of support. But even though it's so difficult, it's a very critical conversation that we need to have. And we need to make sure that the way that we have it is respectful and kind and gentle in the way that we deal with our parents. And it's not just one conversation that we're supposed to be having with our parents, but a series of conversations, snippets that we can bring here and there as we talk with our parents. And sometimes what helps is to elicit the help of others. So maybe if my parents hear it, my father hears it from my brother or from his friend or from, my sister, and he's hearing it over and over again, Dad, you really need to exercise. You need to eat better. You need, maybe it would make it easier for you if we drove you to this place instead of you driving by yourself. So that you don't feel like, you're the bad guy, so that they don't think that you're the only one that's targeting them, that you're eliciting the help of others that are around you. It's very important that you are, in the way that you talk to your parents, that we're considerate and we're not demanding, okay, that's it, you're going to the gym, or I think you should be not eating after this time, or all of these things that we talk to our kids, we have to our parents, we have to realize that, just like Sheikh Rida shared earlier, that they spent many years being patient with us and bringing that about with us and guiding us in that direction, for us to also be patient and considerate in the way that we speak to them and talk to them. I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. It's very difficult, especially when our parents are set in their ways. But to take it slowly and patiently in the way that we deal with them. And sometimes what might help is that you create an outline of the thoughts that you have. So you make a list. You say, okay, these are the areas that I think that, I need to help my parents with. I need to help them with their bills. I need to help them take them to their medical appointments. I need to help them, and how am I going to talk about this subject? How am I going to broach it? Who am I going to help? Who's going to be there? Who's going to help me bring about the subject with my parents? So going back to the example with my dad, for example, he said, no way, I'm not going to this gym of old people. So, my siblings and I, we said, okay, maybe if we went hiking, we took him out hiking, there's in the woods or a path, maybe that would be a little better. And that worked a little better for my dad, to be able to take him outside where he didn't feel this feeling of, I'm a senior. No, I'm going to have fun with the grandkids. I'm going to have fun with my kids going outside and spending that time. So to be creative in these thoughts that you write in your journal in terms of reaching that goal that you want to have with your parents. And to think about where and when you'd like to have that conversation. Oh. So some examples for conversation starters. So in the essence of being respectful and considerate, I've noticed some things that take more energy these days, Maybe you're sleeping in longer, it takes you longer to go up the stairs, it takes you longer to get ready to go to the masjid. What are the really important things that you want to do? So you focus on those really important things that you want to help your parents achieve. You start with admiring the way that they've handled their retirement and ask for advice. Okay, what's worked for you? So I know what to do, so I can learn from you. What works for you best? Maybe you've noticed something in the news or in the newspaper about an aging person or somebody in the community that something, might have happened, or you heard about something, to bring that up. We never talk about these things, Baba or Mama. I don't want to pry, but have we thought about this? Have you thought about how we want to proceed in terms of when we grow older? When we express the needs, we want to be able to not assume what our parents want or can do or what they're thinking. We don't want them to feel like they are a burden. We don't want them to feel like we're completely taking over. We want to give them that individuality, but to be able to have those conversations open with them with open-ended questions and genuinely listen to what they have to say. Okay, so what bothers you about going to the gym? What might work better? You know that exercise is really important. So what can we do instead of going to the gym? Okay, let's go hiking. Would that work? Yeah, sure, that would work. I like that. Would it help if we set a certain time in the week that we could go hiking together? Yeah, let's go every Thursday morning. Okay, I'll be here on Thursday morning and we'll go together. So breaking down those things so that you're not putting it all together in one conversation or one sentence is very important. And sometimes we have to realize that sometimes we have to repeat the idea over and over again, or to rephrase it in different ways so that we can confirm that this is the point that we're trying to make. And we have to realize and understand that role reversal that the Quran talks to us about, that now we have to take care of them, can be very difficult for our parents to kind of swallow. It's especially for many parents that may be immigrants, where they left everything behind and they came here to build a home for us, to the memories that they might have of being back home. It hurts to feel like, okay, now that I've spent all my life taking care of my children, now my children have to tell me what to do and where to go. So to keep that in mind and to be considerate in the way that we deal with our parents is very important. Another aspect to think about is how do you talk to children about grandparents? So your own children, since we're talking about the sandwich generation, they might see these changes in their grandparents and in your parents and in the way that you deal with them. And it might either confuse them, or it might make them feel like, what's happening to grandma and grandpa? What can I do? What can I help? There's a really great book. It's called When My Grandma Put Her Underwear in the Refrigerator. It's a great book. It's got great pictures in it, and it's a great way to introduce to kids some of the things that the elderly might be going through. And so to use those opportunities to read stories, read books, keeping the explanations simple. Grandpa is getting older. It's harder for him to do these certain things. Let's find a way to help him. What are some things that we can do together to help him? And sometimes grandparents will be willing to accept that kind of help from their grandchildren more than their kids, because they don't want to let their grandchildren down. So we should be able to give our children that responsibility in helping them in care. I read an article, I can't remember what church it was, but they created a program at their church where they had these Sunday breakfasts, where each table was a combination between a senior, a teenager, and a young child. And somebody in their mid-40s, mid-age. And they all sat together at a table, and it was amazing how the senior felt like they had a place there, but so did the child, because the child was able to say stories and laugh and, okay, let me help you get a cup of water, or do you need help with those things? So sometimes we don't have that sense of community in terms of the intergenerational communities within each other. So we should be able to create that within our own homes to help us with dealing with the elderly. And to come up with alternatives and new traditions. Maybe there's some traditions that our parents can no longer do anymore because they don't have the energy or the mental capacity to do that. So to figure out something new. So going back to my example, this hike that my father does with my brother's kid, my brother's daughter, is a tradition now. So every week, Thursday morning, they know they're going to go hiking. This is what they're going to do. And it became a new tradition that wasn't existing before, but now exists because of this new dynamic. And to be able to have that teenager be that go-between the children and the parents is also very important. So I'm going to move on to the challenges of caregiving, how, some of the difficulties that we might face in taking care of our parents. Particularly when we have our parents move in with us, one of the issues that might arise is the issue of privacy. So being able to create boundaries for our children, for our parents, for us, so that it doesn't get in the way, particularly if you live in small spaces. You might notice that you'll have some sleep deprivation. So not just taking care of the younger kids, but now you have to get up at night to take care of your parents, or getting up early to make sure that they get their medication, all of these things. And so feeling like putting all this pressure on us as individuals that are taking care of, in this sandwich generation of taking care of both our children and our parents, puts us in what we call the lone soldier syndrome. And in this, we feel like we're responsible for taking care of everybody. We have to carry this burden, and we keep going and we forget about our own self-care, and it becomes very easy for us to burn out because we don't give ourselves the chance to really slow down and spend time for ourselves and maybe take out some of those extra commitments that we might have. So we say we carry it on and we keep going and we don't manage it effectively because after some time we burn out very easily. We also notice that in terms of some of the challenges is that we don't anticipate what's coming next. So just like with when our kids were younger, when our parents are older, there are things that will pop up in terms of medical issues that come right after another, one after another, that we might not be able to anticipate beforehand. I'm going through the slide very quickly because we're running out of time. As well as financial burdens. We might find that there are some expenses that we have to put into taking care of our parents, in addition to those existing expenses that we have for our children, but other things that we might not have thought of, like perhaps our parents may have wandering behaviors that we have to worry about, or problems with going to the restroom that we have to help out with, things that we might not have thought of what might pop up while we deal with our
Want to use the next slide?
yeah. What is the best approach when my parent is favoring the other grandchildren, the faraway ones or the younger ones, over my own? My kids tried a lot, but grandma is tired of us. Also, it's hard to always give her the time she wants between work and study. So I don't know how old your kids are, but particularly if they're older, I think it's important to help the kids understand that you're not always going to get that return, particularly with the elderly. And that when you do those type of things, you're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're doing it for the family, and because they have a right over you. And I think a very big part of that is how you model also in terms of how you interact with the grandparent. So it might hurt you as a parent that you see that perhaps there might be favoring other grandchildren, but if you continue to model in front of your children, it's okay. I'm not expecting that type of reaction. I'm not wanting that type of reaction, but I'm going to continue to help and serve no matter what. That's very important for your child. And I don't know mentally what state your parents are in, but perhaps if they're open enough for that kind of conversation, you could open that conversation with them. Is that perhaps, not that you're not treating my kids the same way that you're treating the other grandkids, but something like, my kids really miss you. They wish to spend more time with you. They feel that you perhaps maybe don't spend enough time with them. Can they go out with you? Can you read them a story? Can they cook with you? Whatever activity that you find that might help with that. If your parent is open enough for that kind of conversation and has the mental capacity to do that, that might be a good idea as well. With regards to this last point, it's hard to give her that time, to give the elderly time between work and study. It is hard. And none of us here are saying that it's easy. It is very difficult. But this is a part of their right over you. It was hard. It was also hard for them to raise you as a child. But I must stress that you're not going to be able to do it if you don't focus on self-care. It's very important that you give yourself that time, that day off. Go with your friends. whatever floats your boat in terms of self-care, that spirituality, to spend time with your friends. Maybe you have a group of friends or a WhatsApp group that are also taking care of elders or also taking care of parents, and you guys can talk together about the stresses of how it might feel and share ideas with regards to how do I take care of the elderly and how do I give myself that energy and to fill my cup so that I can continue to take care of my parents as well. Wallahu a'lam.